Hello, my name is Victor Tiffany, and I'm going to create a walking list of voters from a master list uh, and show people how to do it, explaining step by step on how to do this. Whether you are a computer novice for the most part or a computer expert, you'll be able to watch this video and possibly pause it from time to time using the pause button over here in the corner, and then just do, using your master list of voters, exactly what I'm trying to explain and demonstrate. And within 3 examples, you'll easily be able to go back on your own and create a walking list every time you plan on going out to drop flyers or canvass voters or whatever it is you're making the walking list for. There's 2 ways to learn how to use this little demonstration. You can just sit and listen and watch me go through this 3 times with 3 different counties and make 3 different lists, or you can use that pause button I showed you and stop every time I demonstrate one step, go to your master list and duplicate that effort. So let me get started. I'm going to share my screen here so you can see what it is I'm doing. Get rid of this and you'll see my screen. We start out with the list of voters. This is for Yates County. You can see up here, Yates County voters. What I want to do is create a walking list for just 3 streets, demonstration purposes. And I'm going to do that using MapQuest, which I have on a browser tab pre-selected. Now we're not going to use Dayton, we're going to use Penn Yan. So just type in Penn Yan, New York, do a search. We're going to look for an area of Penn Yan that we can drop flyers in. So get rid of this obstruction here on the right hand side while this map's loading. There we go. And we want to center Penn Yan in the map. So just use your mouse to grab the map, click and drag it down to the center. Use the zoom in buttons over here on the right. I'm going to keep zooming more. I'm going to recenter it using the mouse. Zoom in a little more using, again, these buttons on the right side of the map. Now we're getting to an area where we can pick some streets and create a walking list. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to pick these 3 streets. We need the name of this little cul-de-sac here, so we're going to zoom in one more time. We still don't have the name of this thing, so one more zoom in. There it is, Wagner Court. That's how you get the name of the street. So we're going to do Wagner Court, Hamilton Place, and Benham Street. All right, so we go back to the Yates voter list. The first thing we want to do is create our own sheet. So click on walking list, the tab at the bottom. This is a blank list right now, but it might be someone else's walking list. You want to create your own walking list for use. So click on the down arrow on the right hand side of that tab, and the drop up menu will give you an opportunity to duplicate. So click on duplicate and wait for Google Docs to create the copy, which is, you can see here. First thing you're going to do is click on the down arrow again and rename it. Select rename, and I'm going to call this Victor's list. This will be the list I use to create a walking list for the voters in Penn Yan, New York. So I go back to the master list for Yates County by clicking on that tab at the bottom, and let's take a look at the map so we know exactly what street we want. We want Benham Street, B-E-N-H-A-M, in Penn Yan. So we go to the master list of Yates County voters, and the first thing we have to do is get down here to Penyan. You can see they're listed by city. And we want Benham Street, Benham. So instead of you grabbing the slide bar, which might move too fast, there it is right there. Now I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and just click on the down arrow a few times to get that in the middle of my screen. If I click all the way in the far left column with the mouse, just click once, you see I highlight that first voter. I'm not on the first voter. Let's go up a little higher. There, on Benham Street. But we want to get the entire list of voters. So I'm going to click in the space between the slide bar and the bottom of the slide area. It should move it. There we go. All right, there's the last voter on Benham Street. Now, before you click on this, you're going to hold the Shift key and then click on that far left column, and you see they're all highlighted. Now, in order to move this over into Victor's list, I'm going to hold the Control key and hit the C key. C is in Charlie. And you see the dotted line here. That tells you it's been copied. Now I'm going to click on Victor's list at the bottom. And I'm going to select this first row, and I'm going to hold the Control key again and push V as in Victor. That's the paste command, and you see it lists all of the voters on that street. Now, I'm going to, one more time, paste just one person on this street with a Control C. You can see I've copied it. Now I'm going to go over to the streets, pick the first row, Control V again to paste that. The reason we do this is we want to keep track of what streets we've covered. If there's 2 or 3 people dropping in your city, you'll be able to look at the streets list and figure out if the street you're about ready to copy and paste into your walking list has already been covered. You don't want to do voters twice. All right, so now we go back to our map and get the next street, which is going to be Wagner Court. Wagner Court. So back to the master list. This is the Yates County street list that we just created the first entry on. Go back to the master, and we have to slide down to Wagner Court. Went too far. Oh, here it comes. You see over here, this bar is telling us that the list is still loading off the Google server. So we'll let that catch up with us. All right, we still haven't gotten to Wagner, so we're going to slide this slide bar down. We're on Main Street, a little further. And we need to load more voters. There we go. Slide it down further. More voters. We're in the S's. Wagner, W-E-G. Make sure I have the name of the street right. W-A-G, W Wagner Street. So back up a little bit. Looking for W-A-G, Wagner Street. Walnut Street's pretty big. Just clicking in the space above the slide bar to work our way to Wagner. There's Wagner Hill. We're getting close. There it was. All right, so you see Wagner Court. We're going to select the first one on that street. Go down to the bottom of the list. There aren't many there. So there's the last one on Wagner Court, not Wagner Street. I'm going to hold the Shift button again, select the left-hand column. You see they're all highlighted. I'm going to Control C. This dotted line tells you it's copied. I'm going to go back to my list by tabbing at the bottom and arrow down to the last one. Click the down arrow on the slide bar. Get all past all these voters. There's the next one available. So I select that next row, hold the Control button, and then press V as in Victor, and now I've pasted these voters in. I want to get one more street for Yates County, then we'll try another county. So back to our map, we want Hamilton Place in Penn Yan. Back to the Yates voters, select the master list, and we have to go up now to Hamilton. So I'm just going to grab that too far, slide bar, HAV, I went too far, so I'm going to go up one list of voters at a time here. If this thing will move for me. Hamilton. Come on. There we go. There's Hamilton Street. Past the end. So this time I'm going to select, it doesn't matter if you select the first voter or the last voter on a given street. This time I'm going to select the last voter first by clicking on that far right, far left margin. And then we got to go to the beginning of Hamilton Street. So I'm just clicking in the space between the slide bar and the top. There's the first voter on Hamilton. Hold the Shift key, click again. That gets the whole list highlighted of all the voters on that street. I'm going to Control C, Control Charlie. You see the dotted line, that means it's copied. Go back to my list, select the next one available. I'm going to Control V as in Victor, and they come pasting in. Now, one thing I didn't do last time was save the street that we had copied previously. So I'm going to Control V, just that one voter, come back to streets, highlight this next line, Control V to put in the Wagner voter back to my list. I also want to get the fact that we're going to cover Hamilton. Control C, and then back to the street list, choose the next one, and Control V. Now, if you're the only walker in a given city, you don't need to do this because you're going to know just from your own memory which streets you've covered and which streets you haven't. This is essential only when there's multiple activists dropping flyers or canvassing in a given city. That's why you need to keep track of what streets you've been on going to work on. So back to my list. We have a list of, let's see how many, 156 voters. And now we want to print out that list. So we go to the file at the very top left, click on that. Drop down options include print at the very bottom. I'm going to print. We're only going to do the current sheet. You don't want all these sheets, just the current sheet that we're on, which is Victor's list. And we've got portrait selected, which should fit on the page. If you want to print out just one sheet, this is the current sheet. If this turns out not to be wide enough, I'm sorry, if the list of voters is too wide for portrait, you can always go to landscape where the paper comes out wider. But I know this fits, so I'm going to select portrait, and then I'm going to select print. And it's going to go to it's going to create a list in a document. This is Adobe Reader, which if you don't have when you do this at this stage in the process, you can go to adobe.com. This is the Adobe Acrobat Reader, and you can download that. It's free if you go to adobe.com, download their application, and that'll allow you to open this document using Adobe Reader. It should come popping up here in a second. There it is. Just cancel that. There's your list of voters for those three streets. That might be all you have time for as you head home from work the next day. So once again, if you just click on the print, you'll print this to your printer. And that's all you need to do to create and print out a walking list. I'm not going to print that because I don't live in Yates. Now, you have a list here that you don't need anymore because you already have your hard copy. So print, again, select the first voter, come all the way down here to the last voter, not too far. Come on, come back up. There we go. It's not moving around very quickly for me. Okay, there's the last voter. So I'm going to hold the Shift button again and select that last voter. What we need to do is clear this out. We don't need these voters on this sheet anymore because we've already printed this out. So if you highlight all the voters on your sheet and click over here on the far left column, you're going to create another drop-down menu in which you can delete these rows 1 through 156 that you have selected. And now you have a blank list that you can start over again the next day. All right, I'm going to do this again in another county so you can see how it goes and watch one more time. This time I'm going to work in Lakewood, which is in Chautauqua County. So I type in Lakewood, New York, hit the search, and wait for MapQuest to respond. Eventually it'll come up. There's the About This Place cover that shows up. Once there we go, we can click on that and get rid of it. Same thing as before with Penyan. Just take Lakewood, use your mouse, grab Lakewood and pull it down to the center of the page, then use your zoom buttons here to zoom in on Lakewood. You always want to keep it centered on your screen by using your mouse to grab it, pull it to the center. All right, there's some street names. So let's assume we're going to drop out here on Walnut, Stoneman, and Webster Street. All right, we're going to create a walking list of those three streets. Obviously, you're going to want Erie Street and West Summit Street, but to save time, since it's the same process over and over again, I'm just going to demonstrate using those three streets. So alphabetically, we're going to want Stoneman Avenue first. So we go to Chautauqua County. We're on the master list. Same thing, we're going to create a duplicate. So I'm going to take Nancy list and duplicate that first, clicking on the tab, then clicking on the down arrow, and then select duplicate. And eventually, there we go. We have a copy of Nancy list. So I'm going to select that down arrow again on that tab. I'm going to rename it to Victor's list. And now that's my list. So now we click over here on the master, Chautauqua master. There we go. We need Lakewood. So we just grab the slide bar with our mouse and pull it down till we get to the Lakewood area. Beyond Jamestown, which is a very large city. For this county, it's the largest city. See how many voters there are. There's Lakewood. Now, what was the name of the street we wanted? First one in the alphabet was Stoneman Avenue. Back to Chautauqua, we're looking for Stoneman. We're on Baker, so we need to slide it down a bit. There's SO, so now we go slow by clicking in the space between the slide bar and the bottom. There's Stoneman Avenue right there. Select that first voter and use the down arrow at the bottom of the slide bar to get to the bottom of that street, Stoneman Ave. Hold the Shift button again, click in the far left. Now they're highlighted, so I'm going to hold the Control key, Control C, copies them. I'm going to select my list, using the tab at the bottom. First row, select that, Control V, and there's that list of streets. So let's just go ahead and go down to the next one and get that pre-selected for the next round. Back to the map. I want to grab Walnut Street will be the next one of those three. So back to the Chautauqua sorted list. Go to the master. There we go. And get into the W's. All right, what was the name of that street we want? Walnut, which is right here. Since we're at the bottom, we can go ahead and select that last voter and then get up to the top one. Went too far. Using the arrow key at the bottom, I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. There's the first voter in that street. So I'm going to hold the shift button, select that first voter in the far left column. Now they're highlighted. Control C to copy it back to my list. I already have the next row pre-selected, so just Control V. And we didn't copy the names of the streets. If there's multiple people dropping or canvassing, dropping flyers or canvassing in Lakewood, you need to get these streets over there. So I'm going to select the first one, Control V, just to get that one street. I'm out here on the streets name. I'm going to Control V, get that street in here, back to my list. Let's copy Stoneman Avenue. Again, select, Control V, back to streets. Select the next one, Control V. Now we have those two streets covered. Now we need to get the name of the third street. Let's first just go down here and pre-select our next row, highlighting that empty row. Back to the map, we want Webster Street. So back to Chautauqua voters, pick the master list. And we already know we're on Walnut, so we're just gonna, there's Webster Street. It didn't take long, which is pretty much what we expected. So I'm just gonna arrow up using this arrow button at the top of the slide bar to get the first one. Oh, it was right below Walnut Street. Select that first voter on Webster. Arrow down to the last voter on Webster, which is Kathy and William Whittle. Hold the shift button. Select that last voter from the left-hand column. You see they're highlighted. Now we Control C. That's a copy. Back to Victor's list. Already have that next row highlighted, so Control V to paste that in, and now we need to move that street name over to the street list. So just going to select any one person on Webster Street. Control C, you can see the dotted lines. Back to streets, select the next available line. Control V. There's your list of streets that will be covered the next time out you do your walking. Obviously, you're going to want to go out and get West Summit Street and Erie Street. And if you have an hour you're going to spend, you could probably go ahead and get these other 5 streets out here as well. So here's some very small streets that don't have names. Again, I'm going to show you how to grab that. You simply center it in your map by using your mouse to grab and pull. We're going to zoom in on, there's one of those 2 streets. Zoom in one more time, and there's the second name of the street. That's how you get the names of small streets. You just keep zooming in. Eventually the name of the street will come up. Back to voter Victor's list in Chautauqua. Same process to print this out. You're just going to click File, select Print from that drop down. You're just going to use the current sheet. You want Portrait. You're going to print. Assuming you have Adobe Acrobat on your computer, you're just going to open that, Select OK. And then it comes up. You don't need to worry about the order. Just cancel that. And go ahead and click on the printer where it says print this PDF file. I'm not going to do that, but that's what you would click on, print it out on your printer for your walking list for your next time out. Once you have that printed out, you don't need this list anymore, so you select the first voter. Oops, went too far. There's your last voter. Hold the Shift key, select that. Again, right-click in that far left so you can delete those rows. And now you have a blank sheet to build your next walking list. All right, and we've been keeping track of the streets as we go, so we're good with Yates and Chautauqua, just as two examples. Now we're going to create an example out of Tompkins County. First thing we do is duplicate this walking list so I have a unique sheet to use. So I hit duplicate. Eventually Google will catch up. There's the copy of walking list. I'm going to click on that down arrow again. I'm going to choose rename. Call it Victor's List. You don't want to use your name. You can use any code name you want, but you need your own unique list. Streets at this point should be empty because we're just getting started. Oh, there's one example. We're just going to delete that. Same way, just right click over there. I did the wrong thing. I want to delete that row. Done. All right, so back to the master list. First of all, we need to figure out what streets we want to go after to copy. So right now we're in Lakewood, New York. Let's choose Ithaca. That automatically comes up for me. Hit search. Wait for the map to come up so we can get rid of this. All right, drop that down and out of the way. Grab Ithaca. Pull it down. Use the zoom buttons to start zooming in on it. Now I am going to drop in an area south of Ithaca because that's the neighborhood I live in. So I need to get these street names. So we just keep zooming. Still don't have the three street names we're after, which are these three right here. So we just zoom in again. There's two of the street names. We need one more zoom because we don't have this guy. And there he is, LeGrand Court, Chase Lane, and Sanders Road. So let's go after Sanders Road. We choose the list. Now, same thing, these are in cities first. So we don't want Willisville, we want Ithaca. So I'm going to just slide the bar up. You can see it's got a load. There's Ithaca. And we are after Sanders Road. So keep sliding that slide bar up a little further. Glad it's doing this so you can see that you don't have to panic at first when you don't see your streets listed. Sometimes Google is a little bit behind the ball. So I'm just clicking on the space between the slide bar to get down to Sanders. We're close here. There's Sanders Road. I'm in Ithaca. Sanders. I have the right name of the street. S-A-U-N. All right. S-A-U. Keep on going down. There's Sanders Road. Select the first voter and then just keep on clicking. Hold the arrow button down until you finally slowly find the last voter on Sanders Road. There he is. Hold the Shift key, select the left-hand column. You see the whole thing get selected. Control C again. There's your dotted line. It's been copied. Now over to Victor's list. Highlight that first line. Hold the control key down. Push V, and there's my selected list of voters for Saunders Road. Now I'm going to just take any one of those. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to copy that. Go over to streets because there's going to be other people in Ithaca doing this. Paste it into the first line, and then I'm ready to go to my next street, which is Chase Lane. So back to Tompkins, over to the master list by clicking the tab at the bottom. And we want Chase Lane. So that's a C. We're going to slide the bar up over here on the right hand side. Sure we are. There we go. Waiting for the Google Doc to catch up. You see it loading over here. Chase has got to come further up. Be nice. Usually once this is loaded, it'll just stay loaded for you. You don't have to keep waiting for it like this. I'm looking for Chase Lane in Ithaca. Unfortunately, the whole list is not preset. Still in Ithaca, but we're not down to C yet. Keep sliding that bar up, and it's got to keep loading. I've given you demonstration of 2 walking lists from 2 other counties, so if you want to just work on that part of it and not watch me slowly find, there's Chase Lane. So we take the first voter on Chase Lane and come down here. You'll just move. There we go. There's the last voter. Hold the Shift button. Same process. Select far left column. Highlights the whole street. Control C copies it. You see the dotted line. Come over to my list. All right, we still have Saunders. There's the next available line, which I highlight, clicking the left-hand column. Control V. We'll paste those voters in. Now I want to get just one of those on Chase Lane. Control C. Move it over to the streets. Pick the next one by selecting the next line. Control V. All right, now we're keeping track of what streets have been covered so far. So back to our master list. And we have to figure out Le Grand Court. So that's spelled L-E on the map, but I believe that's going to be L-A on this list. I don't know why it's a why there's a discrepancy. Let's see if I'm right about that. Too far. Oh, there's L. So let's move slower. Go up. Sure. I'm going back down because I want to get to the L. Slid away for me here. All right. Boy, it doesn't take long to move that many voters, a lot of voters in Tompkins County. I can't get this to move. Just a few at a time here. I use the slide bar, it moves so many all at once. That's very slow. Now it's moving better. Again, I'm just clicking in the space between the slide bar and the upper arrow. It's working now. And I'm after, is that right? Back over to the map, Le Grand Court. That's where I'm looking for. Select the first voter. See, it's LA. So if the map is wrong, you may have to skip it. But in this case, I happen to know it was misspelled on one of these, either on the map or on this list. All right, not a lot of voters there, but we'll go ahead and get them all since we'll be working through there. Same process. I have the first voter on the street selected. Hold the shift key, come down to the last voter. Select that. That grabs the whole street. Hold the control key. Hit C. Come over to my list by clicking the tab at the bottom. Move down on it. So I see the next available line, which is 114. Click on that. Hold the control button. Hit the V key. And that pastes that into my list. Now I'm going to one more time. Select just the one street. Control C, because I want to copy that street name into this list of streets so that people can keep track of what street's been covered and what street has not. So I go back to my list, voters list. Now this is a list we can go ahead and print out. Click File, select Print, all the same procedures we've been through twice now. Current sheet. This is pre-selected for landscape, so I want to make sure this is on portrait. Hit the print button. We're going to open with Adobe Acrobat Document Reader. Pops it up. We don't care about this. And just select the printer, and it will print out this list of 100 and some, how many voters was it? 134 voters. Now you may not want to stop at every voter's house, and you're not going to need 134 voters if you were stopping for every house, because you can see there's 2 voters in many of these addresses. 11 Le Grand Court has a couple. 10 Le Grand Court has a couple. So you're not going to need 134 flyers. And you might not be dropping at one particular party. BLK in Tompkins County is an independent, somebody who's not registered with a party, so just independent voter. You may not want to select Republican homes to drop your flyer in, or you may not want to drop Democrat homes, depending on what voters you're actually targeting. That is to say, what your purpose for canvassing or dropping flyers is. And that basically covers it, other than the last step, which is to eliminate the voters on this page, because we have it printed out. We don't need this page anymore. So I select the last voter on the page, hold the shift key, select the first voter on the page, right click in this column, and drop down to delete the rows, select that. And now I have, again, a blank list to start my list of voters on. All right, get rid of the screen share. And that concludes how to create walking lists from a master list of voters. Good luck, and I hope your candidate wins.